While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite Wager Talk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite Wager Talk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.
Hey guys, welcome in here to Wager Talk TV. It is Thursday, February 16th. We are happy to be here. Looking forward to breaking down 4 games for you. Best bets at the end of the show. Of course, I am Andrew. I have Carmine with me and Bryan Leonard, of course, in his usual Thursday spot. Guys, last night, NHL betting history was broken as the Maple Leafs were the biggest closing favorites in the history of NHL betting, at least since it's been tracked so far. And they do not disappoint their bettors as they cash in and beat the Blackhawks 5-2 with Austin Matthews getting a goal in his return. The Rangers 6-4. That game involves 10 goals. I'm telling you, this Canucks team, the defense will not get better. It'll probably get a lot worse before it gets better. The Oilers, they fall to the Red Wings. The Wild, they fall to the Avalanche. And the Sabres, your Sabres, Carmine, 7-3 there on the Anaheim Ducks. So they're showing up when they need to in spots like that. But I'll tell you what, that New York Rangers team looked really good. And I believe we are off a 3-0 sweep on the best bets yesterday on the show. Let's try and do it again here today. Carm, how was your night, man?
Night was good. I thought I was heading for like a 7-0 night in NHL. I finished 5-2 because I had a parlay with the Rangers and the Edmonton Oilers, and Edmonton Oilers, of course, couldn't even win it in a shootout. And then I had the Alex Tuck shot prop fell one short. He had five shots blocked. 5 of his shots blocked. If one of those gets through, it goes over, and I hit that one. But I'm pretty happy with the 5-2. Night, our show best bet. So that's why while you were talking, I quickly took off my jacket, Andrew. Like Prez talks about not taking off his, changing his sweatpants or whatever it is. Last week, I wore the jacket all 5 days and didn't lose a show best bet. This week, I've put on a Puck Time shirt for all of the shows thus far, and we're 3-0 with our show best bets. Let's see if we can make it 4-0. So a little bit of that, call it OCD or whatever you want to call it. Well, let's see if we can make it 4-0. But a good day, and a Champions League 5% winner yesterday with Benfica was probably one of the easiest plays. It took a while to get there, but I knew it would get there. So I'm pretty happy about my soccer clients and all access clients who cashed in on that one. And I'm always glad when this guy's on the show. Bryan Leonard, what's up, man?
How you doing, man? I'm just glad that you're changing your underwear every day. That's that's the only thing I'd worry about. I know Prez had those sweaty sweatpants on for a while, and that was kind of gross. I'm glad I didn't live with him.
I think we could all agree with that. That's for sure, Bryan. I think everybody gets asked this quite a bit, Bryan, but do you have any superstitions? Do you do a lot of things the same time? Do you do your research the same time of day, or are you kind of one of those guys that doesn't try and get involved with that stuff?
The only thing I do is I try to do my work when I'm as fresh thinking as possible, which means during the morning. I get up 5 a.m. and do it that way. I've done that for years. Sometimes I try to get up and bet the earlier games and the overnights, and I don't seem, even though I'm getting better lines, I don't seem to get as good a results. So that's the only thing it is. I don't wear the same hat, or I don't do this or that. But I do know that as the day goes on, my brain goes sour. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted and I can't think about doing any handicapping.
Well, I always find it funny because we don't really realize that like how routinistic we all are, right? You do things throughout your day that you do every day at the same time that you just don't really realize that you do, which can be part of superstitions and stuff like that. But hey, Carm, if you're cashing best bets in that puck time shirt, man, we got to get more puck time shirts made, and for the next rest of the NHL season, I'm expecting an undefeated streak from you. Just no losers, just all winners in the best bet segment.
I'll tell you what. So, and I'm gonna give I got to give one away this week. I have 5 or 6 of them. I think I have left. Marco's got a bunch of them. I think in a bag that I left in his garage with some mugs and stuff. So I'll have to reach out to him and find out if he still has them, and then I can get him to mail out if anyone is in the U.S. that wins, because going from Canada to the U.S. Sometimes they don't make it. One guy I had to send him a shirt a couple of times. And then one of the guys, I think, who's always in our chat, Nebraska knows or whatever, I sent him a shirt and a mug. He ended up with a shirt and a jigsaw puzzle because the mug, even though I wrapped it in bubble wrap, did not make it to his place in one piece. So he ended up with a jigsaw puzzle for a mug, which was funny in itself. But Brian, listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I go through the card at night. I used to put up my NHL card for the next day, the night before. But what I like to do now is narrow the games down to 5, if it's a big card, to 4 or 5 games I really like. And then in the morning, as you said, with fresh eyes and a few espressos in me, I look at the games again and then try and narrow those ones down. So I get it. You want to be fresh when you're looking at these ones. Fatigue plays a big part in this, especially when you're analyzing stats, analytics, and scheduling.
Hey, we talk about situational plays for the teams. I guess there's some situational handicapper stuff. Back-to-back nights, bad sleep. We'd probably want to fade somebody like that. That's handicapping. Back-to-back days, good sleeps. You probably want to go ahead and back somebody that's feeling pretty good. But I'm with you guys. It's all about feeling good and trying to trust your instinct when you look at the card. I did a video talking about this where you want to look at the lines before you go to bed and look at them again when you wake up. I think it's really important as well to be really aware of line movement. Speaking of which, guys, let's jump into the games here. Florida Panthers, Capitals, Bruins, Predators, Jersey, and the Blues, and the San Jose Sharks taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll start things off in the nation's capital with the Florida Panthers being visitors here, taking on Washington. Washington plus 100 here. Florida short favorites, total at 6.5. Shaded slightly towards the under here in this one. Carmel, go straight to you for your thoughts here. What do you think, Panthers and Capitals?
Yeah, it's interesting on this one, Andrew, because this is another one of the ones where you look at the number the night before, and Florida opens up at minus 135. And I thought, while I like this Florida team, they played a bad one in St. Louis. But I'm going to pin that one directly on Spencer Knight. He looked absolutely terrible in goal after Bobrovsky the night before looked very good. So maybe St. Louis caught them on a back-to-back, but I think it was more the fact that Spencer Knight just did not play well. And I think Bobrovsky's going to probably get a lot of the action here on out because they need points and they need wins. I'm not necessarily looking at taking a side or a total in this game because, Andrew, I think this one, I think this one's a coin flip. I cannot find a winner in this game. And sometimes when you can't find a winner, you go elsewhere. And I've talked about the fact that Florida are looking a lot more like they did last season, where they're getting a ton of pucks on goal, and consequently they're scoring a lot more as well too. Look at their shots on goal, and this is, I think, their last 10 games or so: 36, 34, 45, 42, 49, 37, 48, 39, 35. That's a lot of shots on goal. And you know what happens when you have a lot of shots on goal? The player props hit. Aaron Ekblad, someone who I gave out on the show, and I think to my clients, he has gone over his number. His number's at 2.5. You have to lay a little bit of juice. Well, actually, not a little bit of juice. You have to lay 150. But Aaron Ekblad, his last 9 games, 3-5, 6-5, 3-5, 5-5, and 4. This guy has gone over the total, and I just read you the the Florida shot numbers. One has to do with the other. You're getting shots on goal. Your players are getting shots on goal. We talked about it with the Sabres game last night. I see the same thing tonight. I think Florida's going to get a lot of shots on goal. Whether they win or not, I don't know. But if Ekblad goes over the total, that's good enough for me. Ekblad over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 150 is how I'm looking at this one. I'll leave the coin flip to Brian if he's got one. Brian?
Well, after I just said I don't do things, I don't have many things that I take a look at. I do take a look at this, and this is what kept me off of this. Is I did look at Florida, and I thought about using Florida. And then I read the news about Ovechkin's father and how he had an effect on the team. He's been there forever. Everybody on the team knows him. Now his father's passed away, and I think that may be one of the reasons why this line is taking some Washington money. I expect Washington to come out with a real strong effort in that regard. They played well last game. They came up short, but they were the better team. So Washington, I'm not going to stand in their way tonight because of the death of Ovechkin's father. And I think they get the victory. But from a strict handicapping standpoint, the line is cheap on Florida, and that's why. So I'm wishing the best to he and his family. Lost my father a couple of years ago. Lost my mother right before that. So it's very telling, and it's really emotional. So I would expect an emotional effort out of the Washington Capitals tonight.
And it's an extremely, extremely hard time for everybody, and I'm sure that he's got not just teammates, but brothers on his team that are there for him and with him, and guys he's played with for many, many years. And like you mentioned, Brian, that his father was around the locker room, was around the team. He held the Stanley Cup the night that they won it, so he definitely had a huge impact on that team, and of course on Ovi's life. For me, and when I look at this game, guys, the Washington Capitals, actually, their games have gone under in 5 of their last 7 games. And I know the Florida Panthers, it's hard to pick unders with their games. I understand that. But the last time I picked an under was on this show against Minnesota. The game ended 2-1. That was following a 5-3 loss against Colorado. I have this Florida team pegged as a team that off kind of bad losses, I want to look for more of defensive performances. And whether we think or not, this Capitals team is just a much weaker offensive team without Alexander Ovechkin. He might not be the same guy he used to be, but he still has that powerful shot. He brings a lot to the power play. He stands there in the slot, and he makes a difference. Even if he's not scoring, he's still a big distraction, guys. I feel like that does hurt the scoring ability for the Capitals. So I think for the Panthers, it'll be a huge emphasis on defense in this game, and I'm not really sure the Capitals will be able to put up big goals in bunches. And as far as the Panthers go, they need to start winning more games like the one they won against Minnesota, which was 2-1. So I'll look towards under 6.5 here in this one for my selection, Capitals and Panthers. We're going to go to you, Brian, for the next one here, the Boston Bruins and Nashville Predators here in this one. Boston minus 185, Nashville plus 155, total at 5.5. And, Brian, one thing I've been saying a lot about the Bruins this season is that they really are having such a phenomenal season. They're breaking records, it seems like, putting up great numbers, being consistent. But what I think is the most impressive is that all their wins aren't by blowout fashion. A lot of them are comebacks in the third period, winning by 1 goal in the third period. I believe they might be almost undefeated in overtime. Those little things all really add up, and I find that very impressive. How do you feel for them tonight against the Predators?
Yeah, this is a team that right now you've got to find a good reason to bet against Boston. I wanted Boston here. The line's a little bit higher than what I would like to play here. Nashville went into the break, and they were playing great. And then they come out, and then they play Vegas. We talked about that last week. Nashville was just a step slow the entire night. But if you take a look at what they've done since then, they haven't been overly impressive either. They go on the road to beat Philly 2-1, and it took them overtime to do that. And then they lose at home to Arizona. And I know you're talking about all the teams that were pulled the upset yesterday. I had Arizona yesterday at home against Tampa. Didn't expect the outright win. I took them plus 1.5, but this is still a dangerous team in Arizona, and they're playing better, even though they haven't been winning on the road. They did the other day, but they're playing better regardless of where they're playing. So I think this Arizona team will be a moneymaker the rest of the season, at least in the short term here. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Nashville, 2 days off after losing that game at home to Arizona. They got Florida again in 2 nights. I would expect a good night out of Nashville, but will that be enough to beat up on this Boston team? I don't think so. I like the Boston side. I'm trying to figure out a way to play them. I don't want to lay the 185. Maybe I'll do something with a shot selections or something to that effect, but I'm hoping one of you guys will talk me into a bet here.
Carm, what do you have for us here in this game? This is not really a strong feeling for me. I have a small opinion on the total here in this one, but what do you have for us, Carm?
Listen, Brian echoed my thoughts. Nashville has not looked good coming out of the All-Star break. Andrew, they lose that game to Vegas. They lost the one to Arizona, and sandwiched in between was an OT win against the Flyers, in which I think the Flyers actually played better than them. And it's not the easiest schedule for them. They got the Bruins tonight, and then they play Florida, and then they play Minnesota. You could be looking at a team that has lost 5 of 6 after they've played these three games. You know, that Bruins game against Dallas was a much needed win for a Bruins team. I think that had lost 4 or 5 going into that one, and they played extremely well. Dallas is not an easy venue to go in and come out with the points, especially when Ottinger is on his game, and he played well in that game as well too. I'm probably looking to fade unless Nashville shows me something tonight. I'm looking to fade them even in their next couple of games, even though they are at home against Florida. They're going to go to Minnesota. We could start to see they played good there was a good month to 6 weeks where they played extremely well. Maybe a little bit of regression is setting with this team. There was a lot of question marks with this team at the beginning of the season, and even 20 or 25 games in, and then they went through a really good spurt. Maybe they're reverting back to that team that they were at the beginning of the season. So, with that said, the Bruins are the better team here. I get it. The price isn't good. You can find other ways of playing it. You might want to split that money line, puck line, take the -1. But the Bruins for me here in this one.
The funny thing is, Carm, you and I don't like to bet in these prices, and we say that the number isn't really that great, but is it really bad? You know what I mean? Like, for the record that they have on the season for what they're doing with money line prices, I don't usually play 185s, but in this instance, what has Boston done to prove to me that they don't deserve this price tag? That's kind of the way I looked at it when I saw it, right?
If you think the prices are bad now, let last season's last 20 games serve as what you're going to get moving forward this season. Last year, games that were normally priced at 165, they were being priced at 220 because the teams that were favored and supposed to win were winning. That's why we had some very good races at the end of last season. The books are going to make you pay for it. Someone like Brian, who's on the show today, and not to stoke your ego, my friend, but if there's a guy who can find a plus money team that shouldn't be that price, it is Brian, and he'll find you those ones, and I love it. So hopefully, my cell phone's working. Hopefully, I get a few text messages with some plus money ones. But to your point of Arizona last night, how about Connor Ingram? 47 shots on goal, 47 saves. It would have been a travesty for this guy to lose the game with a shutout. Because he loses in a shootout. So Connor Ingram, 47 saves last night. Unbelievable in the shutout win.
Yeah, broke a record. Unbelievable. I mean, most amount of saves and a first career shutout. That's awesome. And like Brian said, they're playing some inspired hockey right now. And also, I really, really want to get to a game at Mullet Arena. I feel like that's just an absolute party, and there is a certain advantage playing there right now. That's for sure. Guys, I'll keep it short and simple. UC Saros expected to go tonight. 2.73 goals against average, a great save percentage. Allmark, 1.9 goals against average. It's just unbelievable. 9.36 save percentage. When I look at this game, I see under 5.5. The Nashville Predators, they aren't a bad team defensively. They just can't score, guys. They've got 4 lines, but maybe about 2 of them can score. And that's a really big problem. The fact of the matter is, it's been a problem for this team for 4 years now. And whenever they've made the playoffs, whenever they've actually made a push, it's because every single time they won a game, they won it by winning 2-1 or 3-1. If a game is first to 4 goals wins, they lose because they can't score more than 3 goals. And to me, that really hurts them. So my lean towards this game would definitely be the under 5.5. Despite the low total, I believe it's definitely low for a reason. Let's go back to you, Carm, for the New Jersey Devils and the St. Louis Blues here in this one. The New Jersey Devils have certainly been an up and down team as of late, but they're putting up big numbers. They're not scared to put the puck in the net. And as far as this Blues team, well, I guess we could say kind of the same thing for them. They don't really want to quit, Carm. They don't want to give up. I mean, just when we all kind of start to write them off, they're like, hey, no, we're still a pretty good team. And then you hear trade deadline rumors about Ryan O'Reilly and different players. We already saw what happened with Tarasenko. To me, this is a very puzzling game as far as who you want to bet on in this situation. What do you think here, Carm?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I think who you want to bet on. I think you have to bet on the New Jersey Devils. I can't make a case for St. Louis, and I get it. They get rid of Tarasenko, but they blow a 4-goal lead. I think it was in the third period against Arizona, or I think it was 3 goals at the time in the last 10 minutes. But they win it in OT. The game against Florida, I think you just draw a line straight through it. That was one where it was a terrible performance by Florida with and more so Spencer Knight in goal in that one on the second of a back-to-back. I just think that this is a St. Louis team where they're going to lose a lot of games as they close out the season. And New Jersey's playing well. That game, you look at the game against Columbus, and unless you watch the game, if you just look at the box score or you just look at the final score and you think 3-2 against Columbus, who are in last place, they barely got by them. New Jersey played extremely well. Sometimes you can play well and win a 1-goal game, and then sometimes you can play bad and win a 6-goal game, kind of like what St. Louis did. There's only one way you can bet this one, and it's the New Jersey Devils. Lay the $1.50-ish that it is. It opened at 145. It's gone up to 150, and I wouldn't be surprised if it closed at 160 or 165 by game time. It's the Devils for me in this one. Ryan?
Yeah, I agree on that. I'm looking to fade St. Louis. They made the trade. They've already basically said that they're going to start rebuilding this a little bit. And but St. Louis, even though we've known that for the last few weeks, they still have played pretty good hockey. I haven't talked much about the stats so far, but I did find something really amazing here. The Devils are on a big winning streak. And if I go back the last month in 5-on-5 play, goals plus or minus per 60, 5-on-5 for the Devils, even though they're on this great winning streak, it's exactly 0. If you think that's impressive, take a look at the expected goals. Their expected goals per 60, 5-on-5 is plus 2.15 and giving up 2.86. So they're winning these games, very similar to what Andrew talked about with the Boston Bruins. They are not blowing anybody out. They're finding ways to win these 1-goal games. And yet, if you take a look at their stats over the last month, they haven't been overly impressive. So they're finding ways to win without playing well. That, to me, is a good hockey team. That's very much like Boston has done so far. They haven't done it to the same extreme as Boston has, but I like this New Jersey team. Keep in mind, the games they play are all tough. You take a look at the games they played so far in the month of February. Beat Vancouver by 1 in overtime. They beat Seattle by 2. They lose to Minnesota by 1 in overtime. And then they beat Columbus by 1. So these are all tight games. People like to lay the 1.5 in some of these games. This is not a game I want to lay 1.5 with New Jersey. I think they win the game straight up. But very interesting stats based on that. And now they're going on the road after they play this one. They play Pittsburgh. And then they come home, and they're going to be a favorite in a lot of these games against Montreal and Philadelphia coming up. So maybe a good point to take that plus 1.5 with the dogs then. But I like New Jersey, but I don't want to lay more than just win the game straight up. I think that's the way it goes in this one.
Yeah, there's definitely spots and for certain teams that you can trust on the puck line to win. Like we hear pretty much every handicapper in the summer talk about the LA Dodgers. When they win games, they win by 2. It's been something I've heard every single person say for years now. And some teams, great stuff there, Brian. Some teams win by 1 goal. I was talking on the show yesterday with the guys about how we bet these over 2.5 shots on goal props, Brian. And a lot of times these guys go on streaks where they're landing on exactly 3. And we'll keep betting them, but they're landing on that exact number. And, it's not like you want to take an alternative over or anything like that, because they're going right there on that set number that you need them to land on, which is interesting. But as much as a good goaltending performance we've seen from the Devils recently, I do think in a certain way we could see kind of a flat spot from them here. But St. Louis, their goaltending and even their defense hasn't been great. Off an interesting game for them, putting up a 6 spot there, but giving up 5 goals there to Arizona, 4 to Winnipeg, 4 to Colorado, 5 to Arizona the previous meeting, 5 to Buffalo, 5 to Chicago. I mean, you talk about flat spots. This team has given up goals to everybody. They could play an AHL team tomorrow to give up goals to them. I see no reason why we can't get over 6.5 here. And the best part is it's shaded towards the under. So we're getting a plus 100 price here on the over. I think we'll get a good effort from both clubs. But I do think we can get this one up and over. And I potentially might do what I usually do with underdogs these days and take the team total over for the St. Louis Blues. I did that last night with the Colorado Avalanche. I know long-term, some might say, well, why aren't you taking the plus money, the plus 120? And I'll tell you what, guys, the amount of times that I've hit a plus, an underdog's team total, but they've still lost the game is my explanation as to why I do that. So I still play underdogs every now and then, but sometimes I prefer to just play their team total in a game. I do expect them to still get on the score sheet and at least get me a few goals. So that's my thoughts here for that game. Let's jump into the last one and then best bets at the end of the show. Brian, we'll start with you. San Jose and the Vegas Golden Knights, a team you pay a lot of attention to here. They're minus 195. San Jose plus 165, total at 6.5. Do you see any type of quote unquote letdown, or do you see the Vegas Golden Knights being ready for this one and coming in motivated?
Well, I think you kind of hit on the head here. I'll start off with the San Jose part. I've been talking about San Jose playing better than what their records have shown. You go over the last month. Let's take a look at their stats. Over the last month for San Jose, 5-on-5 goals plus or minus per 60. They're up 0.11. You take a look at the expected goals. They're up 0.32. So they're playing very well over the last month. Their problem has been all season long. They take a lead and they can't hold it. They lose a lot of leads late, very much like Vancouver did earlier in the season. They took over for that. I like the schedule for San Jose in the month of February. They've had at least one day off before every game they've played, so they haven't played any back-to-backs in the month of February, and they've done pretty well. They beat Tampa Bay in overtime on the road, which was the big shocker. They lose to Florida at home. They go to Washington, who we talked about is struggling right now, and they got that victory. And then they played Pittsburgh the other day at home in a must-win game for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh came out and wins that game 3-1. San Jose is a big rival against Vegas. They knocked Vegas out of the playoffs a couple years ago in that terrible call with Cody Eakin. And so there's been a major rivalry going on between these two teams. They don't like each other. San Jose is going to come into this game a little bit confident, but they haven't played well against Vegas. Vegas has dominated them just like they have Anaheim and Arizona. But, I talked about Vegas coming out of the break. They'd lost 4 straight, and then they went into Nashville, and they beat Nashville 5-1 in that game. And I talked about how Nashville was a step slow the entire game. And Vegas gets that victory. Then they go into Minnesota, a team that is really, they've struggled against Minnesota, especially in Minnesota. And then when they game 5-1, then I thought they may have a letdown against Anaheim. The only thing that kept me off of playing them was the loss to Anaheim. Excuse me, last time they played them. So I knew that they wanted to make good on that. Now they're playing. They've had 3 days off after going 3-0 the second half. Everybody's bragging about them. Here they are. They're back again. They play San Jose here. You would have to think they're not going to be 100% playing this game against San Jose, especially when they got Tampa Bay, a home game against Tampa Bay in 2 days. I like San Jose here. I think the line tells you that San Jose has some value. Vegas opened 235 and it's dropped down to like I'm seeing 182 at Heritage out there. So money's coming in on San Jose. I think that's the right side, but I think we've lost the value that we should have had by playing San Jose overnight. Maybe we could play something. This Vegas offense is look good as related against some bad defenses. Maybe we find another way to play San Jose here. Maybe San Jose points over our number one goalie now, and is taking over. He's not a starter. He's never been a starter his entire career, and yet he's our number one goalie right now. And I just got a thing from Money Puck today, a great website, and they talked about the worst goalies this year, and he's on the list. So he's done pretty well, but he's performed a little bit better than what he should. And so maybe San Jose goals over is the way to look here, but I'm trying to find a way to play San Jose.
Great info, Brian. I agree with that. Really right on there. I mean, you take a look at Vegas. It's one of those scenarios where if somebody that does not follow betting and doesn't bet on sports each day, they would be scratching their head as to why we're even thinking this. You know what I mean? Like they would look at like how Vegas is playing and be like, what are you guys talking about? Vegas is on a roll right now. But that sometimes is the situation where you want to jump in. For the record, San Jose, you can get them over 2.5 goals, anywhere between minus 130 and 135. So if anybody is interested in San Jose, which you could be looking at the half bet maybe on the money line, half bet on that team total. Vegas wins 4-3, guys. You still win that team total. Like I said, the plus money is nice, but so is cash and tickets. So if you think San Jose is going to win the game, I'm guessing you probably think they're going to score 3 goals. So over 2.5 team total is a pretty good one there. Carm, what do you have for us, brother?
Yeah, first Brian mentioned the Money Puck with the goalies, and yeah, Reimer is on the list. Reimer sits at 11th, the 11th worst goalie, allowing 24.71 expected goals against. He's -9 in goals saved above expectancy at 11th. Here's a couple other players that are on that list. Number 5, Jack Campbell. Number 8, Peter Mrazek. Number 19, Freddie Anderson. Why do I mention those names? They're all former Toronto Maple Leaf goalies. So whoever does the scouting for the Toronto Maple Leafs as far as their goalies go hasn't done a very good job, because these guys, I'll give Freddie Anderson a little bit of a reprieve because he had a good season last year and he's been injured this year. And he's 19th, but those other ones right up there, they seem to hang their hat on, and we'll see what Matt Murray does for them when he comes back from the injured list. Andrew, I think I found a way to bet in this game. Much like the Detroit game I talked about yesterday, and taking Detroit money line first period. Detroit had gone 10 straight games where they never trailed at the end of the first period. 7 of them were pushes, 3 of them were wins, and Detroit had the lead at the end of the first period yesterday, so that one cashed. I'm going to take San Jose in the first period. Same thing, the 2A money line plus 140. We don't know if it's going to be Reimer or net. He was on the ice skating alone on Tuesday. I'm not even sure if he gets in a full practice today, whether they go to him because of that injury. So it could be Dell, it could be Kakkonen, it might be one of those. I would actually prefer if it wasn't Reimer. I'd rather see Kakkonen in there for San Jose, and I'd feel a lot better about taking the plus money. Going to Vegas isn't a tough thing for San Jose. Look at the last couple of visits to Vegas. They've come away with the win. So it is probably one of those ones where they enjoy playing in Vegas. So I'm going to take the Sharks first period here, plus 140.
I love it. And I guess there's all of us in a certain way are looking towards kind of an upset here for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, or against them, I guess I should say. I'll stick to the team total. I know that I'm not going. I'm not really, going full here on the money line with that nice plus price, but I'll stick with the over 2.5 team total here for them. Brian, I've gotten a lot of stuff from our guests on the show so far this week about it, and I wanted to get your thoughts on really just trade deadline stuff. Does that impact your handicapping on teams that are looking to be sellers or buyers at all? And how are you feeling about New York after that Tarasenko trade and the Islanders as far as the Bo Horvat trade?
Yeah, the Rangers are now. I've been looking to fade them all year long. I don't want to fade them now. I mean, this is a team with terrific goalie, and now they've got some scoring. This is a team that's going to be tough to beat. The East, to me, is so much better than the West. Unless Colorado can get healthy, whoever comes out of the East is going to win it all. Yeah, when you have a veteran team who comes near the trade deadline and they're not playing well, and a lot of times it helps to trade somebody away. Also, it's other times it hurts when you don't trade something away. Many times you'll find a team that came into the season with high expectations and they don't make any moves late and they're losing. The team starts to blame management, saying they're not trying to get better. So you got to look at each team a little bit individually. Talked about St. Louis a little bit. That's a team right now that we're pretty confident is giving up on the season. At least this management is. We'll see what the players do, but we see a lot of that going forward. So you got to take every game individually, every team individually. But there is value out there.
Carm, I definitely agree with Brian as far as the East versus West talk here. I mean, if you were to make a line for which conference would make the Stanley Cup or win the Stanley Cup, what would you make it? What do you guys think? I mean, I'm curious. Like 140 for the East, 150.
Got to be higher than that.
Maybe it's not that
probably
big of a
170.
favorite.
Yeah, I think it's got. I think it's got to be higher than that, and I think it's got to be higher than that. Probably just because of the uncertainty of the team that was expected to be the best team in the West, which is Colorado. And if Landeskog doesn't return, it makes it a little tougher for them. So it remains to be seen what they do leading up to the trade deadline, because there's a lot of big names out there. When we talk about guys who could move, you know what I mean? Like you look at like the Tays and Kane, Erik Karlsson. I'm pretty sure if they can figure out that contract, some team is going to want a puck-moving defenseman, and the guy who is now a bigger favorite. I got him at plus money to win the Norris Trophy. I'm pretty happy about that. But there's a lot of big names that can still be moved, and some goaltending as well too. So it remains to be seen what Colorado does leading up to it. And I think a lot of it comes from how far back Landeskog gets pushed. He was supposed to be skating the middle of this month, and then they moved it to March. That's probably going to get moved. It could turn out to be one of those Tampa Bay ones where Kucherov comes back for the playoffs. He could very well come back for the playoffs. So we'll see, Andrew. And I know I'm kind of going off here, but you look at it. Give me any East team, and maybe I'm favoritism here. Give me any East team, the top 5 against Winnipeg or Dallas or Edmonton or Calgary. And I'm going to take the East team in a 7-game series. Now, if Colorado's healthy, it's a completely different story.
But that's the thing about making these future bets, for people out there. Imagine somebody that has a Phoenix Suns future before they pick up KD. I'm not saying that anyone can predict that stuff, but sometimes it is kind of nice to, try and predict which teams will be aggressive before the deadline. And then you're standing there with a way better ticket than the guy that bet on them the day after the trade deadline. That's for sure. But Carm, I was against you on your Norris pick. I had Cale Makar, and I'll tell you what, your bet pretty much turned into a lock the second that he got injured. So you can already start deciding what you want to spend your money on, because the second that Cale Makar got injured, Karlsson, I'm not jinxing you, but I'm just saying Cale Makar's injury, it helped you quite a bit. I mean, you're already looking pretty good, but
you better pray to someone that Karlsson does not get injured, or I'm getting on a plane and coming to Narnia or wherever you are on the East Coast there and beating the crap out of you, man. But no, listen, I get it. We make these future bets, And I think I explained when taking the Carlson one, it would use plus 260 or 270, I think he was at the time. I expect the Sharks to move Carlson. I expect them to get a lot in return. It's just which team is willing to pay for Carlson. If the Sharks eat some of the salary that Carlson has, because it's a pretty big one, they can get a lot in return for him. But sometimes you got to sell off those assets and stockpile those picks. You just have to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely a team out there that will do it. That's for sure. Let's get into the best bet segment, starting with you, Brian. I believe your best bet is for a game we have not spoken about yet today. So let folks know what you have going on for clients. And let's hear the best bet for today.
Right now, we've got 2 NHL plays up for clients, 2 college basketball plays. I'm going to find a way to play San Jose in some form of fashion. So that's 5 plays up. And I'm only charging $19 today. We won in hockey last night. Arizona Coyotes plus the 1.5. Would have liked to have had the straight up. Didn't have the balls to play it, but I'll take that victory. I'm going to take a look at the Philadelphia-Seattle game and go over some stats over the last month between these two teams. Over the last month, in goals plus or minus per 65 on 5, Philadelphia is minus 0.41. And we're looking at Seattle minus 0.2. So you got like a fifth of a goal differential. We look at expected goals, and Philadelphia is down 0.07. And we got Seattle down 0.16. I realize Seattle's played a lot of games on the road as of late. But Philadelphia's played a few more at home. But still, there's no way this line should be what it is. We're looking at, upwards of a $2 favorite here on Seattle against Philadelphia. Based on how the teams have played over the last month, I don't agree with that. Philadelphia's had the last 3 days off. They were at home for 4 days before that, so they're not moving. They've been home for the entire second half so far. They had the last 3 days off. They just played Seattle recently on the 12th, and Seattle wins 4-3 in Philadelphia. So you got quick revenge. You got 3 days off, and you got a Seattle team here. When you take a look at their schedule, they've been on the road, as I mentioned, for a while. Now they're back home. They're back home playing Philadelphia tonight. Before this, they ended the first half by playing 5 straight at home. Started the second half with 5 straight on the road. They go to the Islanders, lose 4-0. Go to Jersey, lose 3-1. The Rangers lose 6-3. They do get that victory over Philadelphia, and then they lose to Winnipeg. So they're on a 1-4 streak on this run. Now they're coming home, and they're a $2 favorite against the team they just beat, the only team they beat on that road trip. I like Philadelphia here. I took the plus points or plus money here with Philadelphia. The line, to me, there's no way this line should be. You're catching up to 174 here by playing Philadelphia. I'm taking that shot. I'll play Philadelphia here as the road underdog.
Gotta love those plus prices. And Brian, I really wanted to chirp you for how long that best bet segment was, since they're supposed to be about 40 seconds, but you're too nice of a guy. It's hard for me to do it, but we got to get that 2-minute clock like I have on the NBA tip-off show, or else it's going to be a whole new segment. Carm, what do you have for us tonight, man?
All right, so I'll make mine extremely quick. First of all, 4 plays up in NHL tonight. A couple sides, a couple prop bets. I might add 1 or 2 more prop bets. 3 plays up in soccer this afternoon in Europa League. 12:45. Some of the games kick off. 5% winner yesterday, so let's see if we can keep the run going. And 5-2 in NHL last night. I'm going to go with the Winnipeg team total tonight. It's 3.5 minus 120. Listen, the Jets were embarrassed at home again when Columbus came to Winnipeg back early December. Patrick Laine scores in that game. A little retribution here for Winnipeg, and I think they're going to beat up on this Columbus team. They're beating up on the teams that they're supposed to beat, and Columbus is one of those teams. They can go top of the West tonight with a win, and I think they get a win and a big one at that. So give me Winnipeg team total over 3.5 minus 120 as your show best bet.
Great stuff there, Carm. I like those team total wagers. Great way to get a better price on a game. My best bet, talked about it earlier in the show. We're going under Florida and Washington under 6.5. I see a good defensive performance from both teams, and Ovechkin being out is definitely a rough one for the Washington Capitals as far as their production is concerned. Carmine with Winnipeg, their team total over 3.5. And Brian joining us with some nice plus money at plus 172. You got to love that from Brian. Philadelphia plus 172. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. A little bit of a longer show today, but we do appreciate all of you. And other than that, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite Wager Talk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite Wager Talk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.